Hello and welcome to UniVerse Touch, our weekly show from the universe of Aelia Kos, the first ever private club that is creating a whole new paradigm where you can be both spiritual and wealthy, you can care for the world, and you can also create an extraordinary life. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're going into the second episode of the second month, and this month is dedicated into money and wealth, but seen from a very different perspective. So this is not about a get quick rich type of conversation. Today, actually, I will be speaking to you about four of the most common myths about money that I ran across throughout my life, and they really changed the game for me. And as you're hearing about them, I'd love you to explore if you have any of the four myths still in your beliefs. They're very, very common myths. So if you do have them in your beliefs, please don't judge yourself. It's completely normal. But allow yourself to re examine, reevaluate if they're actually supporting you or if they're ready to get updated. So, in the previous episode, we talked about wealth blocks that comes from the generations before, from our lineage. And as you can imagine, when I explored, I realized how much I didn't know about my own lineage, about the story of my own family. I started thinking that maybe there are also things I actually don't know about money. Because nobody really gets to teach us money. We're all kind of expected to know how it works. And that's not very true. So I end up start saying, there's a big possibility that actually there's things about how money works that I need to explore and discover myself. So this journey started. In the beginning, as always, it starts unconsciously, and at some point you start realizing that you're actually being playing a game that you're very interested about playing. And I observed these four huge myths. So we will go into one by one today. The very first myth that used to be true, but is not true anymore, is that money is real. What do I mean by that? Until 1971, money was backed by gold. So actually the papers that you had in your hands were directly connected to an amount of gold stored in some bank. But it's not real, it's not true anymore. For the last 50 years, since 1971, money is actually backed by government trust and the trust of the society. That means that we transformed, without even realizing it, a finite resource, a resource that was directly related to how much gold we have mined from planet Earth, which is finite, or at least that's what we believe. But there is definitely like a procedure, and there's definitely amounts that you can actually measure about that. And we transform that into an infinite resource, which right now has nothing to do with the natural, physical, tangible resources. This is huge. And if you've been born before 1971, you actually have lived in a time that money was still finite. That might still make you believe that it's still like that, but this is not true. And this completely changes the game. Because you start realizing that money is created from trust now, not from physical resources. So if somebody believes in something, money gets transferred, money gets created, money gets generated and multiplied. And that's kind of it. And this is very, very different because that takes us directly to the second huge myth that money is supposed to be stacked. So back then, when you had gold in your hands, you could actually stack it. You could take your plates, your bars of gold, and place them in your safe, under your bed, whatever you wanted to do, and actually stack money. And that's where the name is coming from. It's back from the days where you could actually stack the physical representation of wealth that was gold. The thing is that the last 20 years, actually since the beginning of 2000s, many of the developed and developing countries have changed their rules, and the banks have started offering to their clients, so to each one of us having a bank account, negative interest rates. That means that actually keeping your money in the bank and every time going adding another number that comes from your income or investments or anything, it's actually not a good idea anymore. Because from this one, there is a leaking of a percentage that sometimes is 0.1, but it can be up to 0.4, since 0.5, that minimizes your wealth without you doing anything with it. So, right now, stacking money, it's not as it used to be, and it's not a good idea. So there's a huge difference in how we're supposed to use this resource. So the resource has become infinite, and at the same time, we are not supposed to hold it. We're supposed to allow it to flow and circulate. And money tends to want to circulate like water. And the more you allow it to circulate, the more it comes and the more it goes. And this is a very interesting belief because that brings us directly to the third myth, which is the myth that I have explored several times in my life. And this is the myth that we are actually unsafe if we run out of money. To tell you the truth, this contains two myths. First of all, that money creates safety for us, and second, that it is possible to run out of money. So, in my lifetime, I have run out of money 3 times. Sometimes it was consciously because I was playing around with what will happen if. Sometimes were just because I just used all of the money I had in my bank account. And I remember the time, the whole period, from when you realize that you start going in very low resources and reserves until you reach zero. It is a tiresome slag. Like, you are terrified that you will not survive, that something bad will happen to you, that it is dangerous actually for yourself, what's happening, that that you're dying in one way or another, that you're unsafe. But then what happens when you reach the zero, or what you have created as zero, because usually there's other types of resources, but you're just unable to see them in this particular moment in time. There's an incredible feeling of peace. There is an incredible feeling of I can do anything. And all of a sudden, something always happens, and money comes in your hands from the most unexpected way. Many times it's also the way of least resistance. But it happens every time. So practically, money doesn't never really lets you down, never really lets you be unsafe. It just doesn't understand why you're getting so scared when you still have, because until you have even €1 before zero, you still have money. Why are you getting so scared when you still have, or when it will come again when you don't? Throughout my life, the most unexpected things have happened when I dropped into the zero. But for me, what was the most interesting thing is that the psychology was one of infinite possibilities. Because I realized I had nothing to lose. And when we have nothing to lose, there's a whole different energy that we get to tap into. And many times, many of us need to experience a hardship to be able to activate this energy. Later on, the best is to not need to get there again and again, which happens oftentimes, but to be able to activate it without needing to drop it into zero. But sometimes you do need to get down there. And when you bounce back, there is a whole layer of a very deep fear that is being embedded from society, that is being completely removed from your system. Because you know that you're safe, no matter what. So the rest is just the cherry on the top. So this is the third myth. And the fourth myth is somehow related also to this one. The fourth myth is that you either have or don't have the money to do what you want to do. What I have observed is that you actually never have the money. And what I mean by that, you never have the money for the level of growth and expansion you want to do next. Never. Because when you reach into any level, you will see the next level. And this is way bigger from where you are. And it is calling you to grow into that. So if you're waiting to have first and do the step, it will never happen. Because every single step will require more than you have. It doesn't matter if you have 10 euros, 1,000 euros, 100,000 euros, a million, a billion plus. Your next step is always bigger. So you actually never have the money. What you do have is the belief that I can find the ways to make the money happen for the step that I want to take. And this does grow over time and does grow the more you have challenged yourself into creating financial resources in ways that were very unconventional. So these are the four basic myths that I have been coming across again and again and again. And if we take them all together and you start realizing how much of that we believe still in the way we act, in the way we behave, in the way we educate our children, the way we grow our businesses, you will be surprised. Because we're mainly driven by fear about money. We are not driven so much by excitement. We might be driven by greed, but this is a different energy. So, what if more of us were able to unlock these myths and debug them? Can we imagine, let's imagine for a second, a society, a humanity that has understood that money is not real anymore, that money follows your moves. So you move first and money comes after. Money comes to meet you. That money is not supposed to be stacked, but neither overspent. It's not supposed to be used as a safety net. It's supposed to be circulated. And that you are completely safe, no matter your financial situation. Can you imagine a society believing in these four things? It would be a place on earth that there is no limitations, that nobody's trying to manipulate and insert fear in somebody else because they will not have fear in themselves. And if you don't have fear in yourself, you move differently. Because you start going into creation. You don't go into preservation. You don't go into survival. You go into creation. And creation is beauty. And creation is bliss. and creation is expansive. And these are the qualities that we need in the future. Actually, we need them in the present already. So let's just already go there, right? So these four myths are very easy to comprehend, and I believe that once you have heard them, you cannot actually really forget about them. What I would love you to observe is like how much of those you are still believing and which actions you are taking from these myths. Because many times we don't realize that we're believing in something that's actually not real anymore. It's not true. And if we change the belief, it completely transforms the way we operate in this lifetime. And then starts the real game. So I love more and more to be able to have these money conversations and wealth conversations online and also in person because they shift everything. They shift the way we think about our history and our story. They shift about our potential and what is actually really possible. And they also shift the vibe. It starts becoming a game, but not a game of the greed, a game of excitement. Like, what else could we create if there's no limitations? What else could we create if we're safe no matter what? What else could we create if we move and money come to match us, to meet us? What else could we create if we don't need to stack money, but we can actually use it and let it circulate where it's needed and come and go and enjoy it? And that's exactly what we do during our experiences. So in the universe of Aelia Kos, we're doing experiences every quarter. And they are happening in magnificent places that completely support this very deep layer of human activation, as I like to call it. And one of the aspects that we love to explore is actually about money and wealth, but not in the very traditional which stock is the best one to buy, which investment would you recommend? While there's nothing wrong about that, and we're happy to support you in investments, but we are mostly creating a field where we can tweak how reality actually operates. So I have observed that the more you're around people who have started debugging their own myths and the collective myths about money, and you drop into deep presence and you drop into real bliss and pleasure and excitement, and you release your head for a moment and you allow your heart to open and your body is present and fully there, reality tends to operate non-linear. That means that the most extraordinary things can happen in seconds. And this is not limited, but it does include money and other resources. During our circles, we had payments happening exactly in the moment that we felt the deepest connection. Nobody was on the phone. There was no transactional thinking. There was no conversation about money. It was just a full bodied presence, and money just dropped in for some of our participants. And it was like a gift. It was completely out of nowhere. They were not expecting it. It was not supposed to happen. It was just like out of there. We had experiences that this magnetic field starts creating ripples, and we have social media accounts just going over the top while the person is not online during those days. We have people even getting pregnant, as I told you in one of the previous experiences, because they're just so open. And after having years of trying to have a baby, all of a sudden, their field is open to receive new life. So, this is actually what happens. And I love when people ask me, so what should they expect in one of the universe experiences? And I tell them literally anything. What do you wish? What do you really deeply, truly wish? Because that's what tends to happen. So, in the universe of Aelia Kos, we're not just gathering among wealthy individuals. There is enough very prestigious private clubs that do such gatherings and hold such spaces that they have very long legacies, and we don't really need to enter into competition with them or anybody else. What we are called to do is actually experience, redefine, and document how both life and business happens differently when we come into real connection. And money and wealth is a big aspect of that because we tend to disconnect re- resources. I was about to say physical resources, right? Like it's not physical anymore, it's not real. So, resources, we tend to disconnect resources from our inner state. And this is one of the biggest mistakes we make. If we're driven by fear, it's very common that we create a huge resistance towards money reaching us. If we're driven by really limitations, everything will be limited. If we keep believing that if we have more, somebody else will have less, we stop ourselves from experiencing fully the field of wealth that we are supposed to experience. And each one of us have a very different level of wealth that they're supposed to be experience in this lifetime. Not everybody wants or needs to become a billionaire. That's not the point. The point is to allow yourself to get in the most activated state you will ever get. And for some of us, that means also being able to reach high levels of wealth, but not only. And that's extremely important because the narrative we're shaping here in the universe of Aelia Kos, it's not just being rich, it's actually being truly wealthy. And being truly wealthy means money, of course, but also well being, relationships, fulfillment in your work, travel, a beautiful life, connection to yourself, connection to others, connection to nature, being in touch with the sacred, a full spectrum of life. This is true wealth. Having money is one aspect of it, but only that will not make you wealthy and it will not make you fulfilled, for sure. It does support you to be able to have other experiences, but it's also not necessary. If you were here in the previous episode, you will remember that one of the first things that life taught me is that you can create an equally extraordinary life without any financial resources. So don't fall into this trap. Let's allow ourselves to be all of it and include money in the picture of a beautiful life, not making it either or as it has been for so many years. We are here to unify aspects. We are here to bring them together. So we don't have to choose because we don't want to choose. We want to be both. We want to be super tuned with ourselves and we want to have the money to have all the experience that we want. Why does it need to be either or? It doesn't anymore. I'm not actually sure if it ever did, but it definitely doesn't right now. And the world is waking up on that. And it is beautiful. So, four big, huge myths about money that we share today. I'd love to hear your comments. Have you observed any of the four? Have you observed any other myths in you or in your community, in your collective? In what level do you feel that you have been able to remove these fake beliefs because they're myths by now, they're not real? And what else is it igniting in your life hearing about this page today? So I will invite you to really dive into that and go back and listen to it again. We went through them quite quickly, But if you just stop and take notes in each one of the four myths, you will realize that there is so many dynamics that are related to those. So go back and check. Okay, myth number one: money is not real. What are all the derivatives of this one? And I'm sure you will find a lot, and many of those will actually be personal. Then, the second myth about that you're supposed to stack money, where it affects your life and business, and how are you operating in this aspect. Third myth, that we either have or don't have, that was the fourth one, or don't have the money to do what we want to do. Go and check and see how many times in your life that was actually not true, but also how many decisions you're taking according to this belief, even though you have seen that it's not true. Take note, because then you will realize how much of these beliefs are still running inside your system, and then you can start observing them and changing them every time you see them coming in front of you. So go and check all the four different myths. And if you do have more, please comment under this video. I'd love to hear your comments. The more we create a communal conversation around these topics, the more you will see that you will start getting extremely interesting realizations about it. The interesting part about social media is like we haven't realized, sorry for the noise, we haven't realized, it's like somebody's delivering money. So we haven't realized that the power we have with one like, with one share, with one comment. We just think that it's just one action. But the truth is that somebody else can see it through us, and they might be able to unlock their own myths and go into a whole new level of reality just because we did this small action that felt aligned and either shared it with a friend or commented or posted it on social media. The amount of power we've been given through social media, it's immense. So let's use it for the best. If you have liked what you heard today, if there was a wow moment, if there was a new realization, please share it with me, share it with others. Like it, subscribe, come on board. I'd love to see you. I'd love to see you more. I'd love to see you commenting. I'd love to see you here. Because what I share with you is actually very deep insights from my own personal life that I usually only share with my private clients. But this year, I've been called to open them up to the public. And I know that the only reason for doing that is actually to start understanding in a bigger expansion the power of the collective. So, what we're exploring during our UniVerse experiences, it is similar on social media, yet different, of course. And we are supposed to understand both fields at the same time. So, if you're more interested to start exploring with a small group, very selected, very curated, in incredible locations, then I'll invite you to apply to our experiences. The next one will be this May, will be in Greece, in one of my favorite places, and it will be powerful beyond imagination. I can already feel the vibe. It's like just, you'll cross all layers we have done until now. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. Either comment here or find me on social media as Aelia Kos. If you want to start exploring it also online, the opportunity is through this live show happening weekly. If you do come on board and listen to my voice, listen to the realizations, observe and reflect on your own journey, share with others, share with the world, talk about what you understood here, your reality will start shifting real fast. And not only your reality, but also the reality from the one who's speaking, myself, and the reality from one who's listening, anybody who's in front of you. There's an infinite loop, it's a kaleidoscope between energies. And the more we realize that and we actually share it with each other, the more we understand deeper how this interconnectedness of humanity, that is a very new concept, it only came after the internet, how this actually works. And I strongly believe that this is maybe our only real superpower as humans. We're very weak in many different aspects. We have a body that's very fragile. We are very vulnerable in weather conditions. We are small. We don't have so much power. We have a lot of cons, but we have an impressive pro that we're only starting to explore right now. And this is the collective intelligence. It's what happens when we actually come into real sync with other humans in multiple layers: body, mind, soul, spirit, money, all of it. And we start operating as one organism. We only have glimpses of that by now. We have glimpses in our events and our experiences. We have glimpses in some ceremonies. We have glimpses occasionally, even in business meetings, if there's somebody who really knows how to conduct them. But what if that starts becoming the default? What if that happens in every family? What if that happens in every business? What if that happens in every gathering, from a simple birthday up to the White House celebrations? What if that becomes the norm? What if that happens even on social media? Can you imagine? Almost everybody on this planet has a space, which is the internet, that is on. And we're still playing around like small children instead of realizing, like, oh, this is our opportunity to transcend. And it needs to happen both in physical space, with experiences like the ones we are conducting, and many, many other incredible facilitators and practitioners. And it needs to happen also in the online space. So this is our chance to completely go from linear into multidimensional, completely shape the timeline, shift and change, and create a humanity that we are so proud of. I would say, oh my God, we were that close. And what did we do? We just extrapolated into the best possible future in the least amount of time. This is what it means to be exponential. And that's the only real power of humans. And it's happening through these conversations. So, like, share, subscribe, because this is a step towards this direction. But also ponder, participate, take action, because this is the real step for anything to change. I'm so grateful for being here today with you. This was a short but so potent call, and I can't wait to talk to you about the further concepts of money. So, the next session, the next episode will be next Thursday, as always, at 8 o'clock in the afternoon. Sorry, 7 o'clock Central European Time, 8 o'clock in Greece, where I am. And it will be about manifestation. So, manifestation transformed, and how we can actually start playing with the concepts of money, how money can be predictable, and how money can be magic money, and how, depending of our own personality, different aspects might work better or worse. And we don't need to have one way of doing it. We need to find our own unique way. So join me live, and can't wait to see all the insights that will come into your heads, hearts, and souls from today's conversation. Thank you so much for being here. and we see you next Thursday.